The Marcus Deegan Show.
What's the story, guys? Thanks for joining us. We have got another fantastic interview coming up right now. If you saw the fights last weekend, we got the winner of Fight of the Night, Julian Juicy J Arosa. I mean, you don't get any tougher than that. Everyone's been asking, when are we back in the studio? We are back in there real soon. We just had a couple of obstacles that we had to jump over, but it's going to be happening before you can say, how's your father? Thanks very much for joining us. And would you please welcome to the Marcus Deegan Show. Let's hear it for Julian Juicy J Arosa. What's up, brother?
How's it going, brother? Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, brother.
Where exactly are you right now?
Where am I? I live in Las Vegas, so I'm just right in Henderson right now. At my house.
We're just up the road from each other.
Yeah, you said Las Vegas. I'm like, holy shit! You must not live far from me then.
Yeah, man. I'm right up there in the Southern Highlands, not that far away from Henderson at all.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So
Awesome.
tell us, man, it's been a few days now that everything's kind of chilled out a little bit, you're home, everything's kind of settled in. How's the thoughts right now? How's the feelings right now? Have you watched the fight back?
Yeah, I came home and watched the fight immediately back. I really was, there's a couple things I obviously couldn't remember, or, it's different when you're in the fight versus watching the fight. So I just wanted to go back and watch the fight and just see kind of how close it was and kind of how I felt about certain things. And so I watched it back pretty immediately. Yeah, man, it was a great fight. And but the thing about it is, like, I just love doing that. Like, if you come watch me spar with some of the guys I spar, like, you'll see something pretty similar to that. Maybe not as bloody, maybe not as crazy, but I mean, we get after it as well. And so, like, for me, it was just a fight for me. And then I really didn't understand the kind of the craziness that it was until I watched it later on that night. Because obviously, it's something that I just normally do, and I enjoy doing it. And after watching the fight, I really, I'm really happy that I had an opponent like Steven Peterson that was willing to be able to go the 3 rounds with me and put on such an epic fight like that.
I think as UFC fans, one thing, a combination of everything that we love about the fights was in your fight on Saturday night. You had it in the first round. He came out and hurt you in the second. It was back and forth the whole time. You were bleeding. He was bleeding. Came down to the 3rd round. It was neck and neck. It was a decider what was going to happen. The spinning back fist that dropped him was just, everyone was jumping out of their seats. You could hear them cheering from Australia. And then, of course, comes right down to the very end, split decision, but which way is it going to go? Is it going to go this way? Is it going to go that way? Did the takedowns have an effect? I believe they did. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I won the first round. I think he got the second round. And even then, both those rounds are pretty close. And you never know with these judges. And then the 3rd round, I felt like it was really close. But I did get the takedowns, and so I was hoping that's what separated it for us. And luckily it worked out good for me. But I think there was a couple of split decisions that night, and I think there's one judge out there that was judging on Saturday night that really wasn't making good judgment calls. I think he was, there's every once in a while there'll be a judge that's kind of going opposite of the other 2 judges, and I think that's what kind of happened because, like, I watched the fight and I felt like I won it 29-28. I think it should have been unanimous 29-28, but it is what it is. They still got it right, but there was definitely a judge in there that was kind of getting things wrong. I think the Sean Strickland fight was a split decision, which is really weird to me. I think Sean definitely won that fight unanimously. For some reason, there was a judge that had it the other way, and I think that's the same judge that probably had it the other way for me as well. So, and that's why they always say you never let it go to the judges. And I was trying my damnedest not to let it go to the judges. I did everything I could, but like I said, man, Steven Peterson's a tough son of a bitch, and so am I. So neither one of us were gonna fold, and we had to go to the judges on Saturday, and luckily I felt like they did it right. They did it right by me.
Now, is that something that you would run back again because it was so close, or are you just in the mindset of, yeah, I'm done now, let me move on to the next?
I mean, of course, like I love like those types of fights. Those are my favorite fights, and since everybody loved it just as much as we did, I probably wouldn't have an issue running it back with Steven Peterson. I don't think. I mean, the UFC doesn't really like to have people run things back unless it's like title defenses or like really big name dudes. But I think I mean, who knows? I mean, if he'd want it, I mean, I mean, I'd be down for it. It definitely ended well for me, financially. So I wouldn't have a problem doing that again because that's really what I'm looking forward to. I'm always pushing for fight of the nights, performance bonuses, because that's where the big money's at. And so for me, that's always what I'm pushing for, and that's the whole reason why I called him out in the beginning, and I was really trying to get this fight from the jump was because I knew a guy like Peterson uh, would create a fight like that, and that's what I was looking forward to.
Well, instead of 50 G's, baby, it was 100 G's, baby. Plus,
Yeah.
that's got to be a really put a real big smile on your face walking out of the octagon. When I say put a smile on your face, you look fresh as, brother. You look like you haven't been touched.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty, I don't know if it's like my skin or what the situation is, but I seem to heal up pretty quick. The next morning I was a bit bruised up, but it only takes me about a day and a half to really get that superficial stuff kind of out of there. Um, but yeah, I actually had no idea until, I would say maybe a couple hours after the fight that I got the 100 grand. I knew that I won. I knew I got my show money, I got my win money, and I got 30% from his show money. So I was already super elated about that because I knew I was going to walk away with more than what I thought was I was going to walk away with. And then probably about maybe like 20 minutes after the fight concluded, my manager Jason House called me, and I know the only reason why he calls, especially right after fights, is because of bonuses. So I knew, like, my intuition, like I knew in my heart that he was calling about bonuses, and sure enough, he was just there to confirm that I had won the fight of the night, and that not only do I get my own $50,000 with that since he missed weight, I also get his $50,000. So instead of 2 checks, I ended up getting 5 checks that night. So it really worked out for me, and it's the biggest score that I've had as a fighter. But I felt like it was kind of well deserved in the sense of kind of coming full circle. My last 2 wins besides that, I fought Jourdain and I fought Nate Landwehr, and both those were bonus worthy fights. I jumping kneed Nate Landwehr, and then I Darce choked Jourdain after a really fun fight. And I thought I should have been a contender for those fight of the nights or performance bonuses, and didn't get those. And I was a little disappointed by that. And so on Saturday to get a double bonus like that, has really made up for it. And it's one of those things that if you just stay the path and you just believe in yourself, things will come full circle. And I feel like that's kind of what happened Saturday night for me.
And what better person to give you that kind of news than one of the biggest sweethearts on the planet, Mr. Jason House himself. Jason's such a great guy, and I just love his management team. Everyone's such a big family there. I've had the privilege of talking to a whole bunch of the fighters from Iridium, and it's been nothing but a great experience. We all get our hair cut at the same place, Elliot and Co. / the Garrison. So make sure you go and check them out. Now, a lot of people are looking at you and they're thinking, man, where have I seen him before? Well, I tell you what, he was on one of my favorite seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. And I'm thinking it's about 6 years ago now as a brother. Is it about 6 years ago?
2016. Yep, it was about 6 years ago. I was, if you look back, I look a bit. Me and my wife will look back at some of those photos, and I look a bit younger than I do now. And we always talk about it like me being the young juice back then when I was super naive, didn't know shit about anything. And it was just there having a good time, and just so naive to the world of MMA, and it's such a different situation than it was back then. But I was just full of life and just loved fighting back then, and had no idea about all the intricacies of being in the UFC, getting paid, any of that stuff. I just truly enjoyed fighting, and I was such an innocent character of who I am today. So it's always fun to go back and watch those fights.
Well, I think the beauty about being on a TV show like that is a part of a historic part of your life that's captured forever. You can go back and look at that when you're 80 years old, and then you can, in a sense, feel that feeling again, what it was like to be there in that moment. So in a sense, you're kind of eternal, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that will never leave. I'll always be ingrained in UFC or in Ultimate Fighter 22, and it was it was such a big season. Conor McGregor was just getting popular. I think it was the very first season where the coaches weren't going to fight each other. It was just like more of like a rivalry thing, like Americans versus Europeans, and and I didn't realize how big it was until after the situation, and even now, even to this day, like even right now, I realize that it was way bigger than I had anticipated or even knew, even like years afterwards. And so
Yeah.
it's really cool to have been a part of that. Even just being on the contenders as well. Like, I've basically done, the majority of the things you can do as a UFC fighter, been in and out so many times. And nowadays with everything being recorded and taped, you'll never lose that. It's always going to be a part of you.
So when you say you've pretty much done everything there is to do in the UFC, what do you think is? I mean, is there still goals? Are you hungry now that you had that great win on the weekend and got all that good cash? Does that make you want more of that now?
Oh, for sure. You can never lose sight of what got you into this. I started doing MMA because I truly enjoyed it, and it was a hobby. My coach always says you can't lose sight that at one given point you were paying to do this. You were paying to go into the gym and get your butt kicked on a nightly basis, and you paid these guys every month your membership, $100, $200, whatever it was. You paid to do this. Now you're getting paid to do it, but you can't lose sight that it was a hobby and it should still be a hobby. And so for me, I'm always a hobbyist when it comes to martial arts. I always want to be the best martial artist I can be. And so for me, regardless of the fights or whatever's going on, win, lose, or draw, I always want to get back to the drawing board and get in there and learn and become a better martial artist. I always tell people, I'm a brown belt, but I don't think I can. I don't think I could go to a grappling situation or a session, and if a white belt has something to show me, I can still learn from them. So there's no reason for me to shut that kind of stuff out, and to always really strive to learn more and more. And I think that's what keeps me hungry in the fight game, and just it keeps me a little more level headed. I always can learn. I always want to get better, and I think that's what fighting does for me in general.
That's great. So when are you feeling like getting back in there again?
Oh man, I mean, every day's a fight for us. We train so hard in and out of the gym. But I think they have me suspended for 30 days. The fight was pretty tough, so I think they're gonna I'm looking forward to maybe like May or June. I mean, honestly, I'm pretty healthy. Just to jump back in would be okay. But it's all about finding the right opponent. And that's the whole. Steven Peterson's really the first guy I ever really got to fight that I actually kind of chose. So it would be nice to maybe set something up similar to that where I can fight somebody that would be a fun matchup like that. 'Cause that's really what I'm looking for. I don't, I'm not necessarily trying to fight Max Holloway or Volkanovski or some of these top name dudes. I want to fight someone that's gonna, I mean, obviously, I think Holloway would be a fun fight because that guy, obviously, he's down to bang too. But I'm looking for guys that are gonna put fights on like me and Steven did. I feel like me and Steven were pretty evenly matched. Um, Especially with our toughness, our durability, and our willingness to fight. And so that's more of what I'm looking for. I'd rather have a fight like me and Steven had than to be talking about belts or top 3 or top 5 or top 10 or whatever that situation is. I really take pride and really enjoy those types of fights that I have with Steven because I know that other fighters watched me and Steven and were like, man, those two guys really laid it all out there. And that's really what I think fighting is about. It's about being vulnerable in those spots and seeing are you willing to push past and really give it everything you have. And I feel like me and Steven did that. And so I feel like moving forward, my next opponent, I want to make or find somebody that's willing to do the same.
So one of your old rivals, Paddy Pimblett, is now fighting for the UFC promotion. Talking about running things back, is that something that's crossed your mind? I mean, now that you guys are both in the UFC, obviously the weight's going to be a bit different, but is that something that you thought about?
For sure. Obviously when Paddy came in, they were talking about me and Paddy, especially being on the same card. I took that fight short notice against Jourdain, and we ended up being on the same card. So like that was always one of the big questions, before and after and during that fight was the whole Paddy thing. He's doing his own thing. I'm doing my own thing. We're at 2 different weight classes. If he ever decided to make it to featherweight, I'd be down. And honestly, after that last fight with Jourdain, when people were asking me about it, I was like, yeah, if he comes to featherweight, I'd fight him. But when I really think about it, there's a few. I mean, the only reason why I don't fight at 55 is because of a few guys. Like, because some guys are just so big and strong. Like, I would never want to fight like a guy like Khabib, or some of these guys that like are walking really heavy and are big and strong. Um, you don't really want to see those guys just because of the weight. And so I mean, Paddy has made featherweight before, and I fought him before, and
Right.
so I don't think that whole weight thing would be a big deal. Although that dude does balloon up pretty big. I mean, if you see what he looks like now, he looks like he ate Paddy Pimblett. So it's like I don't know what's going on with that situation. I mean, I don't think I would necessarily be opposed to fighting him, even if it was at 55. I feel like I'd want to get a little bit, a little bit of a payday to do that as well, to move up and fight him there. Because right now I'm a featherweight, and I've been making kind of a statement in the featherweight division. So
Yep.
instead of taking one of like these random like fun fights, or like a fan favorite fights because Patty wants to fight me or whatever, maybe he does, I don't know, but uh, instead of doing that, I want to keep pushing as a featherweight and see how far I can make it, as a featherweight, and see how I do here. If he wants to come down, by all means, I will sign on the dotted line immediately. If he comes down to featherweight, I would take that fight next, no problem. But to move up, weight, and fight him there, it's just a bit different. And there's obviously a lot of variables that go into fighting and contracts, and who the UFC wants to see you fight. But I think that's a fight that I think everybody could get behind.
Well, I mean, everything that you're doing is obviously right. You're moving forward in the right direction. You're on a real good streak right now. You just made a few more dents, in your legacy by the fantastic performance that the entertainment that you guys provided was just second to none, and everybody loved it. So once again, thank you very much for that. Now, is fighting something that you talk about out when you're not working or when you're not training for a fight? Is fighting that you talk about that with your mates, or like when you're just sitting around just having a chat? Is it always about fighting?
Well, obviously a lot of the friends that I have and a lot of the people that are close to me, are really intertwined with the fighting community. So like, obviously, like, when we get together, we watch fights, and we talk about fighting as well. But I am a fighter by heart, but outside of fighting, I just try to enjoy myself. We all. I
Yeah.
mean, I think most fighters are like that, where when they're outside of fighting, we train. We train day in and day out. We fight and stuff. So like, when we're outside of that, we kind of want to just decompress and just relax and enjoy ourselves, and maybe kind of keep that a little bit separated. But yeah, for sure. Obviously, it always comes back around to fighting, because most of the times we're talking about upcoming fights. We have a lot of teammates that are fighting. It's always something. Somebody's always got something coming up, so it's always kind of on our mind. But I have no problem with that. I enjoy discussing fights and watching fights, but every so often it's nice to just really escape. And I feel like those are the guys I can do that with, because they understand where I'm coming from.
So speaking of that, so what do you do here in this town? Are you someone that goes to shows? Do you like to, do you like to gamble? What do you do here in Vegas to relax?
I am a pretty avid poker player, but I try to stay away from that. So I only play, maybe a couple times a month. But for fun, what I really like to do is especially me and a lot of my training partners and stuff. We really enjoy hiking, like camping and stuff like that. So we'll go to Gold Strike, we'll go hike Gold Strike, we'll go to Arizona Hot Springs, we'll go to the Red Rocks, and kind of just like take a hike, and just kind of enjoy the scenery, and just kind of take it all in. I think it's something that Vegas really provides really well out here, is the hiking. The Red Rocks are amazing, and obviously, there's only sometimes you can go. The summertime, it's difficult to get out there because it's 120 degrees. But when we can, like this time, like right now, the winter, the spring, the fall, it's perfect time to go see
Perfect.
Gold Strike, go hit some hot springs up, and just really kind of decompress in the nature. And that's one thing I do like doing here in Vegas.
Okay, well then, just real quick, just before we bounce, let's just cap. I want to know your picks for the main event and for the co-main event for UFC 271 this weekend. It's Whitaker against Izzy. It's a run back. What do you think? I mean, Izzy destroyed him the first time around. It's a KO in the second round. What do you think it's going to go like this time?
I think I got to go with Izzy as well in this one. The guy's just pretty much hasn't really shown any chinks in his armor. Obviously, he lost to Juan Blachowicz, but that was up a weight class. And I actually had Blachowicz winning that fight, which he did. But I think it was just more of a size thing. You know, they were saying, oh, well, he's only 20 pounds heavier. But when you're talking about a 205er versus an 85er, there's 20 pounds in between those weight classes. But like it's a lot more weight because you gotta think about where they're coming down from or what they're cutting from. And so, you know, like it's the same concept as like, you know, a 35 and a 45er. Yeah, there's only 10 pounds in between the weight classes, but if you weighed those guys, you know, outside of a fight, you're talking about, you know, 20, 25 pound difference between like a 35 and a 45er. So if you're talking about a 85er and a 205er, it's not 20 pounds. You might be talking 40, 45 pounds. And on fight night, you know, Blachowicz might be, you know, 230, and you got Izzy who, you know, was 200, maybe 200 max, you know, and he wasn't cutting any weight. So it's like, you know, he was weighing underweight. So like, I think that was the only chink in his armor, but I think it just had to do with size, you know. And but I think with, you know, him fighting Whitaker again, when you've beaten somebody, especially when you've finished them, that's in their mind. It doesn't matter, like, and on both sides, you know. For Izzy, it's a confidence thing, and for Whitaker, it's the opposite. You know, he's like, fuck, man, this guy already beat me once. It's not like he's fighting a new guy. He's fighting a guy who already fucked him up, and he's probably walking across. When he sees him, he's gonna be like, God, this guy again. And Izzy's got the confidence, like, man, I already fucking buried this guy once. I could do it again. So I think you got to go with Izzy in that sense. If it was like, if they hadn't fought before, I think it'd be a bit closer. But who knows? You know, Whitaker's a tough son of a bitch too. So, you know, anything can happen. We're playing a game of inches, so you never know what's going to happen. But I do have Izzy on that fight.
Yeah, and then in the co-main event, obviously, Tai Tuivasa, the Tui the Shuey, against another big hitter, Derek Lewis. I mean, it can be finished by one punch from either one of these contenders. Do you have a favorite in that?
Yeah, you know, with the Black Beast, he's always kind of surprising people, and I think he surprised a lot of people by getting as deep into the division as he has, and it has done so well. But I got to give it to Tai Tuivasa because he just has that like speed, you know, and he's kind of a soft-looking dude, but he's quick on his feet, and he's fast for the weight class. And I think the Black Beast is powerful for the weight class, and he's surprisingly fast for himself, but I don't think he's fast for the weight class. So I think Tai Tuivasa is going to get it done. I don't know if he's going to finish him, but I think he just has the speed to beat Black Beast.
Well, there you go, coming from the man himself, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I was really looking forward to having this chat with you today. Didn't go down how it was going to go down yesterday, but I really do appreciate you coming on. I know this is your personal time, so once again, brother, I thank you so much for coming on and having a chat.
Oh yeah, Marcus, I really appreciate it, man. It's not out of my way at all, man. I'm just hanging out at home.
And we'll definitely have to get you down in the studio. We've got a great studio here in Vegas, and we'll bring Jason House and the boys, and we'll feed you some Australian meat pies. Have you had an Aussie meat pie before?
I haven't.
I'm going to hook you up.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Hey, listen, Juicy J, thank you, my brother.
Hey, no worries, Marcus. I really appreciate you having me on. And anytime you want to have me on, just let me know, and I'm totally down for it.
Let's do it. Thank you very much, guys. Hey, there you go. The Marcus Deegan Show. We did it. And thank you very much to Juicy J for coming on. And we'll talk to you soon, guys. Peace.
Yes, sir. Hey, have a good one, Marcus.
The Marcus Deegan Show.